What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel again. This is going to be part 3 of the 1965 GMC Cummins swap build. It's going to be a jam-packed video for you guys today. I've got a lot going on here in the shop, and over this past week or so since the last video, if you couldn't tell behind me, I've acquired a couple new tools and some new parts for the GMC. But before we get into that, I'm going to give you guys a walk around of what all I have got done since getting the transfer case home and the frame rails home to the shop in the last video. So we'll do a little walk around and show you guys where we stand on the truck and then dig into what we got here behind me. So, all right, first things first, the frame rail is cut and put into place. We are welded in. Everything is squared up, leveled up, double squared, cut, everything possible is good. We end up being, I don't know if you can see, frame rails line up good. But it's actually sitting at ride height right now, which is from the ground up to the bottom of the frame, 4 feet, which on this 65 cab, when it is on this frame, the bottom of this step is like up front. It's going to hang down below this just, an inch and a half. So that is where the bottom of the cab is going to be, all the way aired up, is what I've decided. I was going to go an extra foot up with the 5 feet at max ride height, but it's just too much. Later on, if I ever have to redo the suspension and decide to go a different route, I might go bigger. But for now, budget build, and yeah, just got too much going on and need to get this project done as is. So we went with 4 foot ride height to the bottom of the frame. The axle's in place and center. I'll have to pull a tape, and I can't remember what my wheelbase is going to end up being. It's 22 foot 2 inches from frame rail to front of frame. So she's going to be long, have about a 13 foot long bed when it's all said and done. I've still got to add some bracing on the inside of the frame rails, but nothing too major. So we got that in place, and up here we have our 4-link cradles. Both, passenger and driver squared up in place, welded in. Had to use some 1/2 inch thick steel to make up some difference here in the frame where it went in. I'm going to fill in these holes. This cradle, these cradles were cut out by Dude's Fab Shop out of Ohio for my I had a 76 K20 Chevy project. So they were not originally for this build, but he done a killer job cutting them out and everything. And I've just since then decided to go a different route. So I'm going to end up plug welding all these holes because I'm not going to be bolting it to the frame, obviously, since it's welded. I've made a couple gussets in the backside. I'll show you later. Actually, I'm going to cut them out later and show you guys how I'm going to fix that up. But yeah, they're going to work perfect. Everything is squared, lined up. You can see, transfer case is in the way. Oh, speaking of that, the transfer case. I have made headway and found the parts, like I said, to get the input shaft changed out. So this transfer case is going to work for me. I've got it kind of just hanging in there currently. Whereabouts it's kind of going to be ish, just for a visual, so I can be thinking about the drive shaft, because this is going to have a separate small piece drive shaft that goes from the back of this 2-wheel drive transmission to this transfer case, which is going to be mounted just in the frame rails somewhere. And then I'll have to figure my rear drive shaft down to the axle, and then the front drive shaft down to the front axle. So it's going to have a couple extra moving parts. I've been doing some research on drive angles, what I'm going to have to do as far, because there's going to be angle from here down a little bit, because I would like to drop, not necessarily use this as a drop box per se, but drop this down a little bit, just to get me some better angles on my drive shaft. So I've got to do some research on, actually, if anybody knows anything about that or is professional in driveline angles, mechanics, and all that good stuff, comment or get a hold of me, because I do have some questions, because I'm not sure what kind of angles I'm allowed and what I have to match on the other side and it gets into it. If I figure out how to do it, I'll draw it all out for you guys and show and explain everything. But for now, I'll probably just have to look at a different YouTube video to figure it out. So, yep, cradles are in, frames on, and front section of the frame has been cut off. I've got to cut some plate and weld in. That's where the factory coil buckets were at. I'm going to clean these up flush, plate and weld it in, because this is where the bag mount for the front is going to be. The Super Duty axle I've cleaned up pretty much. I got a couple brackets to cut off yet. Let's see. Yeah, driver's side is the exact same. Got quite a bit done. It took a little while to get these welded in and everything squared up. Took my time. So, yeah. All right. Well, now we got that out of the way. What we got going on in today's video is over here. All right, so I have finally splurged and spent a little money here at the shop and bought a new toy, if you couldn't tell. We have here a titanium plasma 45. It is a Harbor Freight plasma cutter I decided to buy. It was a little under $1,000. Says it will cut up to 5/8 inch steel. So I have already done a couple test cuts with it on up to around 1/4 inch, and this thing, whew, I'm so glad I no longer have to use a cutting wheel and a grinder. I finally graduated to a plasma cutter. I know it's not necessarily I really wanted, because I run a Miller welder, and I've had this Miller welder forever. I've wanted a Hobart XP 45 or whatever they are, the plasma, the Hobart, or not, sorry, not Hobart, Hypertherm version of this is what I really wanted. But my long-term goal is to buy a 4x8 table and be able to run an actual system, which, if you guys couldn't tell, you guys are sitting on some 4x10 1/4 inch thick plate. Now, the reason I have this is, as you can also tell, this fancy CAD cardboard, I forget what that is, cardboard something system I have here. We're building our own axle trusses and back mounts and everything. I'm building everything on this with this titanium plasma cutter and my Miller welder, and a little bit of elbow grease and some fancy numbers and string lines and plumb bobs and levels, squares. Just for example, like this is going to be my frame mount that comes down, and then my bag plate will weld to this. There's going to be 2 of these side by side. This slides on the frame. So we cut this out with cardboard to get my measurements, just for eyeball and everything, and then I draw the numbers over onto this plate, and I use a straight edge and cut it all out, wham bam. It sounds easy enough. So I'm kind of decided that this build is gonna be just to prove that anybody can kind of build whatever they want. Like, you don't have to be a SEMA truck to. Now, long term, yes. Would I like plasma cut, like a table to cut out all my suspension? Yes. That would be friggin' awesome. I'd love like overlays and all the fancy blah, blah, blah. But I'm on a budget. The shop really isn't like full service shop where I can do all this all the time. So we work with what we got until we make it, I guess. So we're gonna start cutting this shit out today. Yeah, I don't know what else I'm leaving out, but that's what we got going on. I'm gonna show you guys actually over here my cart, show you how my little setup is and everything. What else? I know I was forgetting something. Basically, I've priced a couple different places to have my suspension all cut out for the truck. I've decided to do 13-inch travel bags. I'm gonna get those from Far From Stock. I think carry those. I'm gonna get let's see. I'm just gonna use 2-inch DOM tubing with chromoly heim joints and everything. I was gonna originally use some square tubing that I had, but being as I'm already cheaping out and doing the cradles the trusses, axle trusses on my brackets and everything myself, I am going to go ahead and splurge and buy the tubing and heim joints and do it all with that way. And then on top of that, let's see, I've got my bags. After the bags and the arm links, hopefully after this video and some of these trusses are cut out and put on, I just got to order some parts and it'll be up in the air hopefully. So yeah, anyways, I priced out some of the parts. Sorry, I'm all over the place, have ADHD. You guys are just gonna bear with me until I can learn to edit and all that stuff. So I've priced a couple places, and you're looking at probably for a set of trusses to have somebody anymore in the truck game cut out for you. Truck game, I say truck game. Anybody that does CNC cutting, this I just consider this the truck game. But anyone that's gonna do it, you're running it like, I don't know, $500, $650 a truss. So you're looking at, I mean, up to $1,500 for trusses front and back. When I went and bought some 4x10 quarter-inch steel plate and a plasma cutter for under $1,500, and I'm gonna have trusses that work. They may not be as fancy and pretty. They'll do the job for now, and then I'm left over. I'll have a plasma cutter, and I can still make some extra parts. So that's kind of how I justified going this route versus actually just buying a set and welding them on. So it's not that no one else can like do a good. Everyone does a great job. It's just kind of a budget thing. So yeah. So I'm gonna show you guys the little setup here. My poor little Harbor Freight welder cart has barely hung in there. This is my Miller-Matic 211 MIG welder. It runs on 240 or 110, 120, whatever. And here's actually the little plasma cutter I just bought. But that's my setup. That's the rig. So yeah, I've got a couple things laid out here already. This cardboard truss. That's kind of what I drawed out for this. I'm gonna have to have 2 of these exact copies. Over here, it'll be up, and then the bag plate will sit here. So, kind of get the concept. And up top, my 4-link brackets will be up top. So, I don't know if you can see, kind of got it all traced out here. So, we're gonna tighten down some straight lines and see how this plasma cutter runs, see if we can't build a truss. So, here we go. All right, we're only a couple hours deep, and we have taken what I had CAD drawn and turned it into a rear truss almost, except for a couple brackets bracing. Front and rear pieces are cut out and just roughly mocked up here on the axle. Yeah, so next thing to do will be, I'm gonna cut some bracing for the sides. The top back plates will go up here. I'm gonna leave both these sides open. I'm gonna plate this and across. So my 4-link, my upper triangulated 4-link will come together up here. Yeah, I just basically need to cut a couple brackets to get on this and weld it up. Get this whole thing welded up and set my pinion angle, clean this tube up a little bit, and I'm gonna weld the thing on there. But I may end up calling it a night for tonight. I just wanted to get a good start and mess with this plasma cutter a little bit and see how it done, and it cuts freaking flawlessly. So I am going to, let's see, after I cut up a couple brackets for that, I just have my frame brackets left, which y'all can see, which don't judge this isn't level or 100% yet. It's just for mock-up. But center of the frame comes down where center of the bag plate is going to be. The bag plate will stick out both sides. Something like that, probably, with the bag sitting on top of it. And then directly above, there will be, I don't know if you guys can see, a couple brackets on top like so to match up with the lower centered up. And there will be a bag plate up here on top and a 13-inch travel bag here in between. And then I am going with the parallel rear 4-link. So when this is plated, there is going to be a bracket here facing over the cradle and here over the cradle on top. And then on the lower side down here somewhere, there will be brackets on the outer tube of the axle going forward to the lower section of the 4-link cradle. But up here in the front, the Super Duty axle, I'm basically going to do the same thing, except for that we'll have a track bar since it will be parallel 4-link versus triangulated. So it will have a few other little brackets I have to cut out, but honestly, it's not going to be too bad. I hope tomorrow, today's Saturday, tomorrow's Sunday, hope to get in here and at least get this one completely done. all except for the bag plates, and then do the upper frame mounts. Once that's done, I can move forward to the front and start doing it. And then it's just a waiting game on getting bags and 4-link bars. So it's moving right along. Actually, I'm very surprised. So just another little shot from up front, what it's kind of looking like back there. Oh yeah, starting to look like we know what we're doing around here. Wouldn't tell nobody though. I had to bring the air compressor from the house in here to run my plasma cutter because that one's burned up. I borrowed it from a buddy, and then that one's my little one, and it just runs for too long to do anything with. So, yep, I'm gonna get back on cutting some brackets out, and may call tonight for tonight, and come back in tomorrow, and we'll work on at least trying to complete the rear truss in this video, getting it completely, the truss and the rear frame brackets. In this video anyway, so we'll see how it goes. All right, I ended up calling it quits last night at like pretty early, so ended up getting the axle truss outer sections cut out, and this morning, after I get warmed up in here a little bit, it's Sunday morning, I'm gonna start cutting out the brackets and bracing for the rear truss. Got a little dirt on my face. I'm filthy this morning already. So yeah, that's what we're doing. Working on getting I'm gonna try to get this rear truss built today and the upper frame brackets for the bags and everything welded on to the axle and to the frame. So that'll be the rear axle and the frame. So we're going to work on cutting out some more of this 1/4-inch steel with the new plasma cutter. I'll try to get some video of it actually cutting this time. So we'll get on it. All right, we'll make a cut for this bad boy. Can't forget the ground. You don't have to have it, but it helps a lot. And your safety glasses. I've just been cheating the system. I got a square here I've been using. I'll take and set the tip, that little drag connection that's on the tip of these, so you can drag it across the metal. Basically, I'll take my square. I've got a line marked already. Center my nozzle up on the hole. Make a dry pass and drag it once, make sure it's going to pass. Boom. 1/4-inch steel, like freaking butter. Very, very little to no dross on that. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. Some of my 5-inch gussets, they're gonna go in on the truss. So we're gonna make, I need 3 more of these. So I'm gonna do a little time lapse, and yeah, we'll go from there. And just like that, we have 4. Ooh, I'm still a little warm. What would have took me probably 30 minutes or more to cut out with my original. I'm used to a grinder and a cutoff wheel. That's all I've used for. I've been alive for 30 years. Anytime that I've been doing any kind of metal cutting, this is what I've had to use. So here in the shop, anyway. So I'm kind of spoiled now, to say the least. So let's see, I've got my 5 of those cut. I got 2 more at 7 inches and 1 20-inch and a footer. So I'm probably gonna end up having to cut another piece of metal off. So yeah, we'll keep on chugging along. After I get all these brackets done, I'll kind of give you guys a rundown on my welding setup, my welder and everything I run on it for this, and show you some of my welds. And yeah, we'll carry on. All right, I finished up cutting all the little brackets. I got 1 more top plate to cut, but it's gonna be a little wider because this is where the triangulated 4-link brackets will come together for the link arms up top. Everything is tacked in place and test fitted. Fits the axle really well. I'm leaving this section open and this section open because our round bag plate will sit centered on this little section. Stick out a little ways both ways. So yeah, that's going to be the rear axle truss. Just need to add a top plate and weld it up. I'm not going to do any fancy designs in it. As far as like, I got plenty of room in here to do like a Kirby customs or some different designs. And up in this area, I'm just going to wait on that until another day, another build, just because this one I just want to be structurally sound, halfway decent looking, and do its job. So I'm gonna fire up. I'll show you guys this is my welder. It's probably 5 years old now, the Millermatic 211, 110 volt or 220. I run it on 220. MIG mix tank, of course. But yeah, we're gonna put a couple more tacks on this so we know it don't go anywhere, and start welding her out here in a minute. So yeah, here we go. All right, the outside of this thing is welded up. I have got everything over here done, up and around. You guys can see everything's welded out. Done a couple extra welds on the inside just for security. Up here, this may have a lot of twist and turn in the movement area, depending on how I set this up. So I want that to be braced up extra sturdy. So when I put my top on there, I'll weld the bottom side out completely too. So get this all welded up, both sides. I'm about to flip it over and weld this lower side on both ends, and it is done until I get back plates either cut out or ordered. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and just see here. We'll flip this thing over. Put the gloves on. It's gonna be hot. Don't need that. Gotta remember to put it back on. Cool benzo. So I'll run the wire brush over this real quick. Get a look with that. It's all in the prep. Even though I'm not really doing a whole lot of hardcore prepping. If you'll notice, I've been taking my time. That 211, that Millermatic welder I got, I'd say it would probably weld this whole thing out without me stopping. I just don't like to run it that hard. You can hear the fan in the background now, obviously. Yeah, so as soon as this thing stops humming at us, I'm going to weld this section on this side out. I'll probably go down, down, straight across, and flip it around, down, down, straight across. And this will be done. I'll clean up a couple things off of it, and it is ready to be welded to the axle. So, but before I even can get into any of that, I'm going to have to do some research on my pinion angles and all that. So this video really is going to be more of just getting the rear truss done. Since we've got the new plasma cutter, showing it off just a little bit and kind of what we can do with it. But I'm going to get this thing, if this thing will ever cool off, I'm going to weld this out. And then after that, we're going to do the frame brackets. I'll go ahead and show you guys those. Those will be fairly easy. I just need to cut out 4 brackets that look basically exactly like that. That are going to be spaced out, and then the bag plate for the upper is going to go on those. So, as soon as this thing's done humming, we're going to get back to working. So, see how long that takes. Alright, didn't take that much longer. Pretty much as soon as I shut the camera off, it freaking decided to kick off. But yeah, she's done now. We're ready to go. This thing. Her tip's nice and clean. Everybody likes when you do that. All right. Let's beat this boy up. Very light, that's the stare at it, that's pretty. Bring your eyeballs out. And a cookie kick this stuff these days. That's it. That's it. Yeah, buddy. Little baby. And get it done. Shit got moved around. That's amazing. Oh, hey, easy. Oh, we got a little porosity. Still fine tuning this thing. Fucking just 2 spots. The rest of it doesn't look too bad. So I'll probably just patch it up and go again. If I was to be doing this like commercially for like full time or for a customer, if I was to do a build, I definitely am gonna have to upgrade to a bigger welder. This one does good for like these little projects, but not quite good enough. Just turn it up a little bit, probably to go full commercial. So yeah, that's basically what we're doing. So no sense in videoing at all. I'm gonna finish welding this thing up and we're gonna move on to the other brackets. Okay, so I got my truss all completely welded out and it is finished, other than the round back brackets that go on top and the 2 truss brackets for the control arms, or the link ends that go on top in the middle. So, but here it is. I have not welded it on yet. I was just mocking up, making sure everything clearance-wise, everything fits perfect. It will be welded up after I do a little work and get the differential where I need it, as far as my pinion angles need to be adjusted, but not too bad. And while I was doing that, I went ahead and cut out my, you can see it over here. This plasma cutter does a really good job. I kind of got in a hurry, so I've got a little more dross than maybe I should. Kind of get the concept here. But these will have round plates welded. There'll be 2 of these on each frame rail. Have shit welded to the bottom of it. So this one will have a round. This is the top bag mount. When that is on, it's got a little salty with the gaps, but I'll split the difference when I weld it in. Do the next one a little tighter. It's okay. But yeah, that is, I'll have 4 of those, 2 on each side. Yeah, this kind of goes to show that anybody can build a big monster truck on air ride, right? So yeah, got her done. All right, that will conclude today's video. I've been at it now for a couple days doing this rear truss and the upper mounts. Got everything dialed in and working like it should, so I'd say the rest of the day I'm gonna finish out doing a couple more measuring, or getting a couple more measurements and doing a little cutting. But yeah, as you can see behind me, the truss is on the axle. It all squared up good, everything lines up perfect. I've got to get bag plates for it, top and bottom, and order my bags and 4-link arms and all that stuff, and it is going to be moving right along. But again, that's the end of this video. Anybody that stuck around and watched it all, I appreciate you guys who have liked, subscribed, followed. It means a lot, and it helps me out a lot on the page as far as following, and hopefully one of these days I'll be able to upgrade the shop more and keep putting out good content for you all. So again, thanks for watching the show. Like, subscribe, follow, comment, and I'll get with everybody. Thanks again.